What's up, you guys? Today I've got the 2018 CRF250L Rally out of the garage so I can show you guys some of the mods that I've done and that I recommend that have made the most difference on the bike for a dirt rider. Please keep in mind that this video is strictly my opinion and most of these mods are geared for an off-road rider, so if you ride street, this may not be the video for you to decide on which mods you should add. I also need to stress that it's very important that before you go out and spend a ton of money on any modifications and accessories, you should ride your bike for a while and really take some time to figure out what you need and what you don't. Don't waste money on things that you think you need. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get right into it. The first mod I've chosen is Handguards. If you're going to ride your bike off-road at all, it's super important to buy handguards. They protect your bike. It's no fun breaking a clutch or brake lever when you're out in the middle of nowhere and having to figure out how to ride back without a clutch. It's possible, but it's not fun. Not only do they protect the bike, but they protect you as well. If you ride a lot of single track or a lot of anything close to trees, you definitely don't want to be smacking your hands between the tree and the bar. It's just asking for a broken bone. I have the Tusk D-Flex handguards. And they're actually really cheap for what they are. I've never had a problem with them. They've been rock solid since I bought them and mounted them onto the bike. And I picked them up at Rocky Mountain ATV/MC for about $40. So I'll drop a link down in the description for those handguards. The next mod I've got for you is a skid plate. Now, I don't personally run a skid plate, but that's because I live down here in the Florida Panhandle, so most of my riding is flat ground and sand. If you live somewhere where it's really rocky, or if you have a lot of uneven terrain, skid plate's going to be very important for you. It's not only going to protect your plastics if you have the Rally, but it's going to protect your engine and it's going to protect your frame as well. I opted for the T-Rex Racing crash bars over a skid plate because I did ride a lot of street when I first started. That's kind of changed a little bit, so I might gravitate towards more of a skid plate than a set of crash bars, but I do recommend these for anybody who does ride a lot of street. As far as the skid plate goes, like I said, I don't actually have one, so I don't have a lot of personal experience or like a recommendation for one, but if you are going to be doing anything like crossing logs, riding rocky terrain, anything like that, it's a must-have for one of these bikes. The next mod I have for you is tires. Now, tires are kind of a touchy subject with a lot of riders because there's so many different riding styles. A lot of people use their dual sports to commute back and forth to work, so they're going to want more of a tire that's off and on-road oriented, whereas me, I pretty much ride this strictly off-road now. So I have the Kenda Trackmaster 2s that were recommended by Adventure Daily, and I absolutely love them. I'm considering putting a set on my KLX 400R as well. I cannot recommend these tires enough. They're super cheap at Rocky Mountain ATV. I think I paid like $90 for a set of them, and I got over 3,000 miles on these tires and they're still going strong. A lot of people say too that you should be able to ride off-road with any tire, and I agree to an extent. But in my opinion, when you're riding sugar sand like I do, these stock tires are just simply not going to cut it. The stock tires were okay at first in the sand, but the more aggressively I started riding, they wouldn't stay planted as soon as I'd go around corners. You got into the deep sand, they just didn't have enough lugs to actually paddle through the deeper stuff, so it just made it a lot harder and less enjoyable to ride. The next mod I have for you is gearing. Right now I am running 13 in the front and 42 in the rear versus the 14 front and 40, which comes stock. Gearing is super easy to do yourself, just like a lot of these mods are, but the gearing really helped my low end torque on this bike. This bike was lackluster at best in the sand and stock form with stock gearing. I just couldn't seem to get the power I needed to get going fast enough and get on top of the sand like you're supposed to be. So this 1342 really helped me to kind of broaden my torque curve and get up there on top of the stand and stay upright. With the stock set of gearing, I also noticed that when I would hit a trail, I would find myself in between gears a lot. First gear, I was revving out too far, but second gear was also a little too fast for what I wanted to do. And also my skills at the time. Now I don't have so much have a problem with it, but for a new rider, it was nice to bring my torque curve down to where I could actually pick a gear and stay in it for a while and kind of learn my basics. Now with gearing, if you find that you do a lot of highway riding, you may want to go the other direction and increase the front sprocket size or decrease the rear sprocket size, because that'll bring your top speed up, but it'll reduce your torque. Now, if you're an off-road rider, the 1342 setup is great. I think it's one of the best all-around sprocket setups you can do. With this setup, I can still do about 60 miles an hour comfortably down the highway. Any higher than that, it gets really, really buzzy, and I feel like I'm really bringing the bike out. But yeah, for me and what I do, I think this combo of 1342 is perfect. All right, so the last mod I have for you today is suspension. Suspension was honestly one of the best upgrades for this bike that I ever could have done. The suspension on this bike, in my opinion, was set up for someone a lot lighter than myself. I'm around 190 pounds, and it just didn't cut it. I used to put a lot of camping gear on the back, and the camping gear plus my body weight just made this bike feel like it was just all over the place, rebounding all the time. I opted for a Yss rear shock, had that installed first, and that made a lot of difference, especially when you're hauling around a lot of gear. And then as far as the front, I put the Racetech spring kit in the front. I have videos for both of those installs on my channel. I'll link them right here above in the cards. You can see in both of those videos I kind of did like a small review of it. I have yet to do a full review on these, mainly because I didn't really film anything beforehand, so I don't have much to compare it to. But just trust me when I say that the Racetech front spring kit and the Yss combo on these bikes made it so much nicer to ride. The downside of the suspension mod is it is the most expensive one on this list, but in my opinion it makes one of the biggest differences, so it was worth it. I may get some hate for saying this, but in my opinion the rear shock and the front spring kit should come before a exhaust and EJK programmer. To me, the EJK and the exhaust didn't make near as much of a difference, in my opinion, as the suspension setup did. So take that into account before you drop $400 or $500 on a exhaust system and a programmer. Well guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this video on the list of mods that I think are best for the off-road rider on the CRF250L. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.